If you could make a change to what you're doing day to day, to your process, if you could add something to your workflow that didn't take a lot of time and didn't take a lot of money, but was almost certain to give you significantly better outcomes and results, would you do it? The quick answer is, of course, yes, absolutely I would. Tell me more about that. The honest answer is maybe, and that's because we're humans. We don't like to be vulnerable. Some of us don't like to get ahead of the crowd. And that's the story of Wilt Chamberlain, which is written down below, and in fact the episode of Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History that significantly informs this post is embedded down below. I encourage you to give it a listen. So Wilt was an NBA legend. They actually wrote that the National Basketball Association wrote new rules because he was such a dramatic change to the game. He dominated so many phases of it, but he had one big weakness, and that was his free throw shooting. He was terrible at it. In fact, he finished his career with the third worst average in league history. And his season, the worst season, he shot 38% from the free throw line. If you don't know basketball, that's terrible. But the best season, he shot 64% or almost 64% from the free throw line. A dramatic improvement for him. And so the thing is, if you're a terrible free throw shooter, the defensive strategy for the other team is foul him. So they would just foul Wilt Chamberlain, put him on the free throw line. He'd miss one or both of the free throws, and it functioned like a turnover, and you get the ball back and you keep going, right? So that was a strategy. And his coach, Wilt's coach, knew that if he could be a better free throw shooter, it would eliminate basically his only real vulnerability and change the way that people chose to defend him. Like that would no longer be a viable strategy anymore. You take it away, and now you're at a greater advantage if you're the coach and if you're Wilt Chamberlain. And so he attempted a style that wasn't popular. It wasn't common. It was the underhand free throw attempt, right? The granny style is what we called it when I was a kid. But it was this underhanded style. And it was interesting because a few other folks, including multiple-time NBA All-Star Rick Barry, who finished his career as a 90% free throw shooter, shot that way. So it wasn't unprecedented, but it also wasn't common. But he attempted it for one season, and in that season, he achieved his best free throw percentage ever in his career, by far, almost double his worst, and well over 10 percentage points above his career average, over a dozen points higher. And he abandoned that style. Why did he abandon it? Well, in his autobiography, he says he felt silly doing it. He didn't like the way he looked, but he also regrets it. I was wrong. I was wrong is what he wrote. And I don't want the same thing to happen to you around your videos. Something that I see all the time and hear all the time from our customers and people that are thinking about becoming customers with BombBomb is, I get it, Ethan, this is really interesting. I know that I'll have better relationships with my prospects and with my customers and with my colleagues and with all the other folks that I'm working with every day. I know that I'll save some time by talking instead of typing. I know that I'll get more replies to my emails and some of the other benefits that are listed down below in this post. But when I hit record, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. And that's Wilt Chamberlain at the free throw line. The thing is, you can get better results when you do this. And it just takes a little bit of practice. The reason that you become uncomfortable and the reason that Wilt Chamberlain was uncomfortable is that vulnerability, that human vulnerability of putting yourself out there to be judged. None of us likes rejection, so that vulnerability becomes uncomfortable. But the thing is, the more you practice, the more confident you get. The more confident you get, the more successful you are. And the thing is, people already know what you look like. And if they don't, you hope that they find out soon. Most of the people that we're working with are trying to get face-to-face meetings to build that trust, build that rapport, build that relationship, diagnose the situation, and provide a solution in the form of a product or a service and achieve success in that way. And so you can do this. The thing is, you're ahead of the curve. That's the high threshold, low threshold that you can read about down below. Rick Barry had a low threshold. He did not need the social validation. He didn't need to follow the crowd in order to innovate and to do what he knew was right, to be the very best he could be. On the other hand, in this story, Wilt Chamberlain demonstrates a high threshold. He needed a lot of social validation. He needed the crowd to get there first and to stick with the crowd to be comfortable. You can do it. Most sales professionals are not yet using video, and the farther ahead of them you get, the better off you're going to be, because you'll have more practice, you'll have more confidence, and you'll have more success. What you're experiencing if you're hung up at this stage in videos, I don't like the way I look, I'm awkward, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like this. This is not uncommon. It's actually more common than the alternative, which is just jumping in and doing it. And if you want to hear some stories of people who work through that and how they work through that in their own words, just download the guide that's posted down below, Overcome Your Fear and Start Winning with Video. It's based on what we've learned and observed with our customers. It has tips and tricks. It also has a lot of words from people that were in the same shoes that you were, and are those pioneers, those innovators, those low threshold folks who they didn't need the social validation, they just needed to work through that initial discomfort, and now they're enjoying greater success by mixing video into some of the communication that they have with the people that matter most to their business. And I hope you can join them. Hey, if you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, listen to the podcast, take some of the tips out of this post, and be certain to grab that guide to Overcoming Your Fear. And if you're not yet using BombBomb, of course, you can try it absolutely free. We make it easy to record and send video messages, and to track your results as well, so you can follow up in a more efficient manner. So very best to you. Thanks for checking this out. I hope you find it interesting and valuable.